spoilers and welcome to One Day Banger. Yes, you guys get a real kick out of One Day Bangers, as do I. It just keeps that spice thrown into the mix of what we're doing. And the reason we did this is I was going to play Dune, and then I was playing for like an hour, didn't really get anything going. I was like setting up for my big expedition, and then the servers went down. The servers went down for maintenance, and so it was like, okay, we need something else to play, and our good, just Lady Bex came to the rescue and said, I am ready and raring to go. I've got a whole list of things for you to play, and that'll last like a few hours because we had drama time, and the game was Home Safety Hotline. Wow. Before I get into the spoilers, because it's a very short game, this is like 3 hours, I think, if you're taking your time and doing it right. And there is some replayability for sure. Is that this is just a game made by... this actually inspired me that we could make a game here, like a really on-the-nose, silly game, because this game was made by people who are just having fun. Like, absolutely just having silly fun, very silly concept that... played into the hearts and minds. It also revealed something about me. To set the scene, you are a customer service agent that receives phone calls to deal with. So you work at a call center, and it made me realize immediately how absolutely non-functional I would be in those things. Because my response, I guess, I don't know whether it's my personality or my age or whatever, but most of the things that people call into call centers about I just like, will you grow up and deal with it? Like, I get that we have to call to do refunds and do like paperwork, sure. But the whole premise of Home Safety Hotline is that if you have an issue in your home, that you call these people and you tell them what the problem is, and they try and figure out what the hell is wrong with your house. And ideally then send out their team to deal with it. So it's like, oh, there's a weird smell in my house. There's a scratching in my house. I'm like, well, find out what it is, dude. Like... Go and have a look. What's causing the smell? I don't know. And it was just like, bro, grow up, man, and deal with this stuff. But it gets very weird. Obviously, it's a video game, so it does get very, very weird. Also revealed something else that is actually astounding. Is despite... It almost is a proof of how simple a lot of jobs are. And it did take me back to my early work that I did when I first entered the adulting of earning a wage. I started work very, very early. Like, I started... My first proper job outside of newspaper rounds and things like that was actually working in a bar as a glass collector on busy Friday nights at age 16. And then I started working the actual bar at like 16 and a half. But I was always big, so no one ever questioned, because it's not legal in the UK to sell alcohol if you're under 18, but no one ever questioned it with me. I worked behind the bar for a year and a half until I was 18, and they threw me a birthday party. My 18th birthday party was there, and then the joke was, you're now legal to work here. I was like, hey, I was paid as a glass collector for all that time. Either way, it did bring up, like, there's a lot of jobs out there that, like, once you've had, like, an hour of experience with it, you can do that job eyes closed. Just no matter how absurd it is. No matter how absurd, how crazy it is, like, once you've had an hour of, like, oh, okay, this is how this works, and you've had a few calls, a few customers or whatever, yeah, you're good. You're good for the next 30 years if you were happy to do that job forever. So what is going on? What makes this game interesting? The game is interesting because you work for a company that is, like I said, people will call you, and it's all voiced clearly by, like, friends, family, or maybe Patreon supporters or whatever who funded this, will call you with problems. They'll be like, okay, so there's, like, a squeaking coming from my attic, and I'm finding, like, these coffee beans everywhere, and you're like, oh, and then you have, like, a selection of things that it could be, and you're like, oh, you've probably got mice in the attic. And the gameplay loop is to match the correct diagnosis with the problem based on the information they give you. That's the game. I know it sounds like, well, that sounds really boring. But the point is, it gets weirder and weirder and weirder as you start unlocking the fact that people have demons and things living in their house, right? So you start unlocking, by day 2, you start to get some weirder ones. And by the end of the week, you've unlocked things like there's Spriggans hiding in your garden that are stalking you at night. There's entities and wisps and all sorts of goblins and things and trolls that are deflating their bodies and, like, reinflating themselves to be, like, 12 feet tall, and they do these kinds of things. And you've also got, like, pipe gremlins that clean your toilet for you and things like that. So you have all these, like, array. I think there's like 50 or maybe less choices, and it just gets gradually more weird. And then they threw in some curveballs in there. There are people who call you to prank call you, right? They send you these prank calls, and then midway through, you start to like hate certain people. I hated Carol. Carol was my supervisor. And if Carol called, especially if you got the answer wrong, she calls and berates you. I got fired in my first 2 days. Again, in that like first 30 minutes of like figuring out the job and trying to match them up and stuff, she called me and fired me. She's like, you're so bad at this that you're fired. I got fired. Play the clip, I guess, Bex.
Supervisor Carol here. We've been watching you for some time, and I must say that we have been rather disappointed in your performance
Carol.
here. Many of our callers' lives have been altered for the worse thanks to your negligent answers. Your failure to treat your work here with the gravity it deserves has unfortunately forced us to make a very difficult choice in regards to your continued employment at HSH. Effective immediately, your employment here has been terminated.
Go fuck yourself, Carol.
We wish you the best in your future endeavors.
You gave me no training. No training. No trial process. Nothing. You did no test. Yeah, like, this is an example of poor corporate training.
That was terrible.
Wishing you and Emma luck tomorrow on everything less than 3.
What the fuck is that screen? You are unemployed? That's horrible. But despite that, we came back on fire. I will say, for the next 4 days, I think we got a 100% success rate. Once we got, like, the misleading, there's some red herrings in there. Sometimes they'll tell you that they called last week before you worked there, and they were given a diagnosis by somebody else, and it hasn't worked. And it's like, you told me to do this, and it's stupid. Because their description totally feels like that's what the answer should be. But when you check through it, you're like, oh, well, what the guy did was based on that answer, so that isn't correct. And then and thankfully it does give you totally carte blanche time to put them on hold while you can read through all the things and second guess yourself. You're not pushed for time there. One thing they do at some point is have network issues, which mean that you can't check the descriptions. You can't like refer. So think of it like Papers, Please, where you can't refer to your instructions and you have to go off memory. So that's the game. That's what it's about. It eventually descends into very, very, very weird stuff going on towards the end of it. I enjoyed this a lot. This was great. I would rate it as like a B, like a decent B game. The issues I have with it are, yes, it's got some replayability. I think it's a little too expensive, though. It was £10, which is not like an enormous amount of money in the gaming sphere, especially now with the 80-plus games that are coming in. But it is really something you're going to play for like an afternoon. I always try and equate things to going to the cinema, and the cinema is extraordinarily expensive right now, but there's just, the gaming's different. It's not exactly the same, and there are so many games out there now that are offering just completely wonderful, extraordinary polished experiences for £2, right? Like, you know, when you think about it, there's so many games that are either completely free, or it's just a competitive world. It is. And when someone says, okay, this is like a 4-hour game, maybe, because when you replay it, there's only certain things you're going to do, like getting every answer correct, which you will do on the second playthrough, more than likely. You're going to get through that in about 20 minutes, because you can skip what they're saying, and you can just answer quickly to just find out different elements. That's my main issue with it. These fun sort of little afternoon games, I think you should be aiming for like £3 or £4, honestly, something like that, because it's something you want to play with friends. It's something you want to play for a little spice and a little flavor, but it's obviously not a game that you're going to sink the next 100 hours into, right? And certainly when it's competing at that price with something like Game Pass, like that's rough, dude. That's rough. I really liked this game though. I thought it was really charming, really fun. It was clearly made by people who were just having it just had a concept, and it's simply done, just made quickly in Unity, and all works perfectly. Some fun voice acting in there and some interesting elements that you can work with. I think this game works better with friends, where you're all like suggesting what the answer could be, because some of them are a little tricky. They're very, very vague, and you're like, okay, it could be this, it could be that, and you're like and ahhing, and it doesn't quite match, but it's close, and there's little clues and things. That's where this game is fun. Single player, you're probably going to be like, oh, I got that wrong, move on. So Home Safety Hotline was the game. Give it a check out if that looks interesting to you for a little gimmick, or if it's on discount at some point or something along those lines. Might be worth a look for you, but a decent B for sure. I think that I would have probably give it a B plus if it was a bit more reasonably priced.